Welcome, everybody. Sunday morning. Here we go. March 24th. I don't have any of my stuff set up on the screen the way that I want it. Get this stuff set up. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me this lovely Sunday morning. Early, 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday. 6:30 a.m. for West Coast. If you're waking up with me on the West Coast, I appreciate it. Split slate today, as per usual. Special thanks to the basketball gods for putting the Knicks at noon and putting them on an island so we don't have to pay attention to it. Super, super helpful. 3-gamer on FanDuel, 3-gamer on DK for the early. FanDuel tournaments look terrible. DraftKings is functional. And then main slate, 4-gamer on both sides. So at the very least, we have the same sort of stuff to talk about, and we can not pay attention to the Knicks. It all helps. So, thank you for joining me. Not liking the colorful bricks in the background right now, guys? You want the lasers back? I just like doing a bunch of dumb stuff. Morning from Cali. What's going on, man? Must be like me. I got up at 5:45 today on a Sunday, but that's what happens when you go to bed at 10:30 on a Saturday. Marcos, I did have a decent night, but it's FanDuel only. Thank God for the lack of late swap because FanDuel didn't allow me to make any more mistakes, whereas DraftKings allowed me to get to way too much Chris Dunn. So DK not great, FanDuel really great. So it happens. What are you gonna do? That's why you play both. Who are the main baseball guys for Awesemo? So it's myself, Laffy, Adam, Chris, Spags, Live Before Lock Guy. No Fast Eddie for baseball, but Jake, who does all of our NHL content, is a baseball guy as well. So basically, we're swapping out Fast Eddie for Jake. And then, we still have EMAC as well. So basically the same people, you just swap Fast Eddie for the manager of the Minnesota Jakes, Jake Hari. Well, I feel like I haven't talked to him forever after talking to him every day for 6 months. It's craziness. Absolutely crazy. I think my Apple Watch is like burning my skin. I don't think anybody cares about that either. All right, so we've been going for a couple minutes. Let everybody trickle in. Yeah, Sean V, can't wait for MLB. I bet you can't, man. I'm excited for it too. It's just I'm excited to not have to worry about like projections during the middle of the day. It's just a real chore to like keep up with news, and not having to do that in baseball is going to be really refreshing. Just knowing that at like 2:00 in the afternoon, I can walk away for a couple hours and nothing goes insane, and like I don't have to be back. So, alrighty, I'm gonna talk about both slates. I've got Crunch's run for the early. I've got Crunch's run for the main. I am not going to talk about this garbage Knicks Clippers game. So if you were hoping for some interesting showdown takes, I don't have them. Who the hell knows what's going on for the Knicks? So I'm just gonna pass right there. Ugh. All right, so this is the early sheet. I have it in here. Do we have any ownership yet? No, not yet. But when we get that, I'll go back over it. But I've run crunches for both. So at the very least, we'll have my own information. I wanted to play the early on FanDuel, and then I went there, and they just basically don't have tournaments. So, sorry, FanDuel. Tried to give you my money. You opted out of it. Oh, man. Oh, just a little creaky today. Gotta wake back up. Did a flotation tank Friday during the afternoon. That was fantastic. Got me nice and relaxed. Got that extra magnesium in. Signed up for a subscription, so now I'm going every 2 weeks. It's gonna be crazy. I love it though. If you've never done an isolation tank or never done a float tank, highly recommended. You feel great. But that's not what anybody's here for. All right, we're 5 minutes in. People are done trickling in. It's gonna be a small crew today, I would imagine, but we'll get there. Bricks are too colorful. Let's see if I can do something about that. Maybe we could dull them out a bit. and then we'll get going. Let's see. How about something like that? Now it just looks like I'm in a shitty island or in a shitty alley, back like the old days. What happened to the Warriors? Great question. Considering I had 98% Quinn Cook and like 75% Kevin Durant, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. All right, let's get into it. Milwaukee Bucks hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers is a 4:30 p.m. start. 119.25 implied total for the Bucks. 104.25 for the Cavs. 15-point favorites here for Milwaukee. If we look at Cleveland, only Delly is on the injury report. He is out. Milwaukee side, Giannis questionable, Dante DiVincenzo out, Pau Gasol out for a while. So, obviously the Giannis news is important. I have him in right now. He looks fantastic for this early slate. Really hard to avoid, in my opinion. If he is out, and like projecting Milwaukee's minutes here is just so difficult because Cleveland is garbage. But the second that you think a team is garbage is the time where the Mavs come out and beat the Warriors by 30. So if Giannis is playing, he is 12-4 on FanDuel, 11-2 on DraftKings, $54 on Yahoo. I have him in for 34 minutes. It's a little bit of a pace down spot for Milwaukee, but at the same time, you're getting a defensive matchup that is really hard to turn your back on. So I actually have 50% Giannis on my original FanDuel crunch. I got 60% on DraftKings at 11-2. I just can't imagine not wanting to have him. I really, really can't. It's just too good of a spot. Let me just make sure I have this filtered correctly. Harden, LeBron, that's both the late slate, right? Yeah. Yeah, like Giannis is at 11-2. Next closest guy is Jokic at 99 and then Kawhi at 92. I mean, I have Giannis projected for 10 more fantasy points than Jokic. He's just got such a massive, massive ceiling here that I don't really know how to get away from it. Where's my exposure? Do I not have it here? I guess not important. So I'm sticking with Giannis, and I'm sticking with Eric Bledsoe. 7,800 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DK, $30 on Yahoo. I like him more than I like Giannis, honestly. He has been really good this season with Brogdon off, with Mirotic off, that's basically it for this squad. So I've got him at 1.22 FanDuel points per minute for today. And at 7,800 on FanDuel or 6,800 on DraftKings, he becomes one of my favorite plays. So I've been having a lot of Bledsoe lately. I only have him in for 32 minutes, which I think is pretty reasonable. It's less than Giannis, less than Middleton. I'm still getting quite a bit. Middleton obviously in play, but Bledsoe is more of a priority to me. And then I don't totally hate the idea of getting a little bit of Ersan Ilyasova on FanDuel. It's only 4K. Kind of a functional drop considering you only have 3 games to choose from. But really, all of my ownership is going to be wrapped up in Giannis, Bledsoe, and Middleton. Surprise, surprise. I wouldn't play all 3 of them in the same lineup. I would set a max 2 of 3, or when Giannis is the key guy, 1 of Bledsoe, Middleton. But that's where it needs to be, and it's Giannis and Bledsoe pretty far apart from Middleton, at least for me. On Yahoo, it's the same story. I like Bledsoe the most, $30, then Giannis at 54, then Middleton at 34. There's very little better than when your coffee is like the perfect temperature, warms your mouth, warms your gut. It's all good stuff. So that's where I'm at. Giannis, Bledsoe, Middleton, Giannis and Bledsoe at the top. We'll go to Cleveland now. A little bit of a pace up spot, an additional 3-ish possessions here. Not a fun not a fun spot when you're getting Milwaukee. Defense is solid, but if you look at the teams that play at on the early slate, we have Cavs, Pacers, Nuggets, and Hornets all in the 103.5 to 105.75 implied total section. The Raptors jump up 10 points above that. Then the Bucks are like 15 ahead of that. So implied totals aren't the biggest thing in the world right now for this early slate, just because everybody's is so bad. So I like the extra possessions for Cleveland. They're not good, but you have to at least look at these guys. So I have Kevin Love in for 30 minutes right now. 8,100 on FanDuel, 7,300 on DK, 29 on Yahoo. I'm getting a little bit, 10% FanDuel, 20% DraftKings. Look, 3-game slate. Kevin Love has a chance to put up a big number. Can I please go get Fast Eddie Fear and take the rest of the day off? No, but you can if you'd like. What kind of dry cereal am I munching? I don't actually eat cereal, basically ever. I just happen to eat it dry when I do, unless it's Frosted Flakes. So if you want to get a little bit of Kevin Love, I think it's feasible. Now, Jordan Clarkson is a much different story. He is 5,200 on FanDuel. He is 5,300 on DK. I have 85% Jordan Clarkson on the early slate on FanDuel right now. And I have 47 on DraftKings. I don't know how you get away from Jordan Clarkson here. He's playing more minutes than like I even have him projected for right now. But if I don't want to have like 900% of Jordan Clarkson because he's Jordan Clarkson. So, last game, 33 minutes. He's played 32. He's got a 30 a couple times here. So I have him in for 30. If that's the case, I can't see a scenario where you're not interested in him on FanDuel with like reckless abandon. Let me make sure I get all these games correct. So on FanDuel for that early slate, here are your choices at that position. $8K Chris Middleton, 7,200 Jeremy Lamb, which is a really tough sell. And then you're all the way down to Jordan Clarkson. And none of these other guys have nearly the ceiling of Clarkson. It's not Pat Connaughton, $300 cheaper, or Danny Green, or Wes Matthews. There is nothing here. There are basically only like 3-ish functional shooting guards on FanDuel. Let me add this value metric on here just to see if I'm totally crazy. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Like, what else are you going to do? You're going to play $4,200 Monty Morris? No one offers you the Jordan Clarkson ceiling. I'm anxious to see what the ownership ends up being when that comes out, because I think it's going to be like scary high, but if it's not, it should be. So get yourself some Jordan Clarkson. Now, I don't like him as much on DraftKings. His salary is $100 cheaper, or $100 more expensive, rather. If we used FanDuel salary as the base, he'd be like 4,700 on DK. You wouldn't be able to get rid of him. So get yourself some Jordan Clarkson, people. That's the play, in my opinion, coming out of Cleveland. You can get to a little bit of Colin Sexton. It's not really for me, but at least you got the minutes. I don't have a ton of Larry Nance interest if he's going to be if he's still going to be like stuck behind everybody now that Digits is playing and Tristan Thompson is playing. Like, there's only so many minutes. So Nance becomes a really tough sell. The guys that I would be looking at would be someone like Chetty, who's playing, 34 plus minutes a night. And oddly enough, and this one doesn't make me proud, but Brandon Knight, 4,200 on FanDuel, 3,900 on DK. There's just minutes to be had on this team. So the prices are good enough and the pace is good enough that on a 3-game slate, I can see getting to a little bit of Cleveland in a terrible, terrible, terrible matchup. But if you have to get to anybody from the Cleveland side of this game, it's Jordan Clarkson. One game down. Let's keep it moving. Hit that like button, by the way, people. Every like is very, very helpful for me. So, and every one that happens on a solo show just makes me feel even better. Indiana Pacers hosting the Denver Nuggets. Pacers 104.25 implied total. Nuggets 105.75. For Indiana, we have Darren Collison questionable right now. That is going to be very important. On the Denver side, I believe they are fully healthy, so we don't have anything that we're waiting on there. I have Collison in. You guys should know by now. I pretty much project everybody in when I can. What am I getting tagged in? Is that Tom telling me ownership's out? It's not. Shout out Llama Trainer. This early slate does suck. So if Collison is in, what I have on the screen is where I'm standing right now, and that is standing with quite a bit of Indiana, which is never fun because everybody's always priced and like projected in the same sort of range. So I'm getting a ton of Miles Turner, 5,900 on DraftKings. Very tough to avoid him on a 3-game slate. If Collison plays, I expect him to be his normal self. So I would have quite a bit of Collison. Similar story for Boyan. Not getting to as much Sabonis and Young. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different. Turner is $2,000 more expensive than he is on DraftKings. Just not getting there. Because of the way positions work, I get to quite a bit more of Thad on FanDuel than I do on DK. Similar story for Sabonis. Having to have 2 power forwards just kind of changes it up a little bit. So you want to have exposure to Turner, Collison, Sabonis, Young, and Boyan. You just can't avoid it. Probably somewhere in like the third to half of your lineups, because you just want to bet on talent. Someone will play well out of that group. They're just really, really hard to deal with. Like, I've got Thad Young projected for 28.9 on DraftKings. He's less than a point behind Boyan. He's a 1.5 behind Sabonis, a 1.5 behind Collison, 2 points behind Turner. Like, these guys are all just right in that same range between 5,500 and 6,100. So if you're a person that plays on both sites, like, try to balance yourself accordingly with these guys. You're going to want exposure to Indiana. The price is the key piece. So don't be afraid to have more. Like, I'll have a lot of Turner on DraftKings and not a lot on FanDuel. That's just how it works out sometimes. You need different things. And he's much more likely to get there at 59 on DK than 79 on FanDuel. So I want to have a lot of exposure to those top 5 guys. Use your discretion as to which site is a bigger priority. Now on the Denver side, also if Collison is out, you at least want to take a look at Tyreke Evans. He's gotten 29 minutes in both games that he's been out. It's a much different change since the beginning of the year. Now that Oladipo is out and Collison is out, he gets a lot more ball handling duty. So you're going to probably have quite a bit of Tyreke Evans, 46 and 4,300 respectively. $12 on Yahoo becomes an absolute steal. Thad Young, by the way, probably the best play on Yahoo for the Pacers. Toss up between him and Boyan. Not doing math correctly? Feels incorrect. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Take that out of there. take that out of there. Yeah, much better. Yeah, Thad Young would be the guy I'd be looking for on Yahoo, but again, you could have all of them. If we go to the Nuggets, hi Broken Brain, I miss you too. Jokic is 10-2 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DraftKings, $46 on Yahoo. Clear center option on FanDuel. It's no one else is in his level. I have him projected for 15.7 more points than Miles Turner. If you're playing centers, like a lot of it's coming from this game, whether it's Turner, Jokic, Mason Plumlee. Yeah, I said it. How many Pacers is too many? I wouldn't want to have more than 3. Depends. Like if Collison ends up out, then that changes a little bit. So for the rest of Denver, I will have quite a bit of Nikola Jokic on FanDuel if I were playing this early slate. I have to say it like that. There are no tournaments, as far as I'm concerned, that are any good on the early for FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't have as much Jokic. Clearly, 9,900 is a fantastic price tag. I greatly prefer like some of the other guys. Like if Giannis is playing, I greatly prefer Giannis to Jokic on DraftKings, especially with like the additional, having small forward, power forward instead of just center. I think he's just a little bit more efficient, and I'd rather pay down a little bit further than Jokic. So for today in particular, I'm having a difficult time getting to a lot of Jokic on DK. I'm really having a lot of trouble getting to much from Denver on DraftKings. Their prices are a lot better there or on FanDuel than they are on DK. You've got guys like Mason Plumlee who are $300 cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. Will Barton is $100 cheaper. Paul Millsap only $300 more expensive. So I'm seeing a lot more Denver on FanDuel. You can see on the screen right now, I've got at least 12% to 7 different guys from Denver. That's Jokic, Millsap, Murray, Barton, Plumlee, Gary Harris, Monty Morris. I don't have that same sort of exposure on DK. Very little to Barton, Plumlee, no Gary Harris, barely any Monty Morris. So Denver is a FanDuel paradise. On DraftKings, I would stick to only Jokic, Millsap, and Murray. I don't really love the pricing on anybody else. One last game on the early slate. Feels pretty similar to this last one. It's another game with a point guard up in the air. Toronto Raptors hosting the Charlotte Hornets. 114 implied total for the Raptors. 103.5 for the Hornets. Kyle Lowry is questionable. Nick Nurse had mentioned like he was going to be out for a full week and that it, just didn't see him coming back. He got moved to questionable now, which is interesting. I don't expect him to play. This one's a little bit different because he's been out for a couple of days and just reading the tea leaves. So I left him out for right now, but keep in mind, if Kyle Lowry ends up being in, a lot of the value that's on Toronto just goes away. So if he is out, we've got Kawhi at 10K on FanDuel, 9,200 on DraftKings. He's just fine. I have 30% on FanDuel, 20% on DraftKings. Really hard to prioritize him in either direction. Early ownership is up. Shout out to Tom. Thank you for getting that for me. We could take a look and see where everybody is for the early. But Kawhi looks good. I am going right back to the Pascal Siakam well. I'm going to have him in abundance. Him without Kyle Lowry on the floor, he's just been really, really good. A little bit of a pace down spot, but Hornets defense is bad. I have no problem here getting to Siakam. He will be my second most owned guy on DK, or second most owned guy for the Raptors. Number one being Fred VanVleet. Again, this assumes that Kyle Lowry is not playing. So I have VanVleet in for 32 minutes. That number could be higher. I got 73% on FanDuel and 64 on DraftKings. Let's grab the early slate ownership. and see how this all compares. DraftKings and in FanDuel and in. Okay. Van Vliet, not as chalky as I would have expected. Are we projecting Lowry in? I don't think so. So, yeah, I'm going to be pretty heavy on this Raptors team in comparison to the field. Much over the field on Siakam, at least close to the field on Kawhi, well over the field on Van Vliet, over the field on Danny Green on FanDuel. I don't have a ton of interest in Marc Gasol or Serge Ibaka. Gasol getting a lot more popularity here, so I might need to bump the minutes. I went 26-22. They went 28-20 in the last game, so I might need to go to that 28-20 number as well. Actually, I should resort my lineups now that I have ownership. That changes my ordering. Maybe that'll matter a little bit. And you can hop into Emacs Fred Van Elite contest on DK. The link just got posted in the chat. All right, let's see what we've got. All right, if I redo my lineup selection now that we have ownership, it's going to be hard for me to get away from Van Vliet if Lowry's not out. Danny Green on FanDuel for 4,500 is a play that I will never be proud of. But again, it's a lot to do with the structure of the position. Leonard, Siakam, Van Vliet, Danny Green on FanDuel, Marc Gasol on DK, not as much on FanDuel. That's where I land for the Raptors. Not a lot of interest in Ibaka, not a lot of interest in Jeremy Lin or Powell or OG or any of that stuff. Now, if Kawhi ends up miraculously out or something, all bets are off for Toronto. Just get everybody. It's going to be a ton of minutes to go around. Charlotte side, pace up spot a little bit, just 1.6 possessions greater than their normal. Difficult defensive matchup against Toronto. They have the lowest implied total of the early slate. Kemba, 9K on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings, and I don't have him. 1% on FanDuel, he's at 39% expected ownership. 0 on DraftKings, he's at 29. I'm basically fading Kemba Walker as of right now. So, if you liked Kemba, you and I are on different pages. The price tags don't all look good. There's just better options out there, either all the way down or all the way up. So, ignoring Kemba for me. No real interest in Jeremy Lamb. The guy that you need to pay most attention to is Miles Bridges. Bridges is 4,900 on FanDuel, 3,800 on DraftKings. And, the key takeaway for Charlotte now is that we have Nick Batum is questionable. MKG is questionable. So I have Batum in. MKG shouldn't matter. I don't really want Batum if he plays. You just have to play Bridges because he's going to soak up a ton of minutes. I've got him in for 29 right now. I don't even have him with good rates. I still get 29% ownership on FanDuel. I get 70 on DK. It's only 3,800. He is the guy right now that I'm getting to as the value play on the off chance that value doesn't open up. Never proud of that. It's Bridges, so it doesn't help ever to have Miles Bridges, but that's the paydown spot for right now. A little bit of Willie Hernan-Gomez is interesting because he's getting more minutes now. Same for Malik Monk, 3,200 and 3,100 respectively on DraftKings. On a 3-game slate, the way that they're moving this season, if those guys get to 20 minutes or so, they could be viable punts on a 3-gamer. So that's where I'm at. That is where we are at. Early slate chalk. Thad Young, Bledsoe, Middleton on FanDuel, Bledsoe, Turner, and Boyan on DraftKings. Let's circle back to that Bucks-Cavs game, see if anything stands out. Giannis and Bledsoe both getting pretty sizable ownership as I would have expected. Same for Ersan Ilyasova on FanDuel. I am under the field on Middleton, but he's getting the ownership you would expect. Jordan Clarkson, a little bit chalky on FanDuel, 31%, not nearly as much as the 81 that I have. Chetty getting a little bit more ownership than I am getting right now, but I'm much heavier on Jordan Clarkson than it appears that the public feels. They don't feel the same way. For Indiana, same path for me on Turner and Collison. Well, on Turner, Collison not as much, but the Q tag is going to keep his ownership down. Boyan is right there with my numbers. Similarly on FanDuel, I'm right around the field on all of these guys, so nothing standing out as too crazy. And then Denver ownership looks a lot similar to what we were talking about before, where pricing is better. On DraftKings, it's just Jokic, Millsap, Murray. So, early slate done in, 20-something minutes. Can't beat that. Go to the main slate. Close this early slater. Open up the main. I prepped for this one, unlike last week where I ran all the crunches while I was on the show, which you guys would probably prefer anyway. Oh, I am hungry. Very hungry. Let's get that ownership in for the main slate. We'll have a lot to talk about. Main slate looks good. 4 games. Perfect size. Tournaments look good. I'm happy. All right. First game up on the early slate. The New Orleans Pelicans, or on the main slate, sorry. New Orleans Pelicans hosting the Houston Rockets. 108.5 implied total for the Pels. 118 for the Rockets. On the Pelicans side, still no Drew Holiday, still no Eton Moore. Anthony Davis is probable. On the Houston side, by all accounts, everybody is available to play today. Who knows how that shakes out? Fareed and Austin Rivers got DNP CDs in their last game, so figuring out the rotation is quite a blast. We'll start on the Pelicans side. Julius Randle stands out as a play. He's got 27% ownership on FanDuel and 29% on DraftKings. I am right there with the public, so I don't really have a hot take on Randle. He's just, for a 4-gamer, I like the ceiling that he offers. I'm a little bit higher than the public on Elfrid Payton, who's barely getting any ownership, but he stands out to me as a functional play. The price is scary, but you have to kind of forget that he's Elfrid Payton. He'll make you feel a little bit better. After that, it depends on the site. Someone like Frank Jackson at 4,500 on DraftKings is standing out a lot to me. He's only at 21% ownership, so I don't mind going there, or to Kenrich Williams. I don't like those guys nearly as much on FanDuel. On the opposite side of that, 30% ownership from me to Darius Miller on FanDuel. He's at 31% on DraftKings. A 4K guy. It's what happens when you have a position like small forward that is just dreadful. That's really all there is to it. Small forward is a wasteland. It's LeBron at 10.7. It's Durant at 9.6. And you drop all the way down to Rudy Gay. So if you think that Darius Miller is going to play 30 minutes, he functionally works as a punt here. Oh, God, I love coffee. I love coffee so much. I love coffee the way Adam loves losing in Thrive. It's just got to be amazing. Got to be amazing to him. Adam talked a lot of smack yesterday to me since I didn't have as much Trae Young. He was playing well, and then my boy Luka saved the day. Came and dropped a little bit of a bomb, made me feel better. Coffee is from the devil. It just might be, but I sold my soul to that dude ages ago. Yeah, I never would have thought that Frank Jackson would be the guy to get the most on DK. News will be paramount here, but the real thing that you want from this game is on the FanDuel side, or is on the Houston side. I can't talk on a Sunday. I'm just mentally broken. Houston gets a monster pace up spot. 4.7 additional possessions here. Houston plays super slow. Pelicans defense is dookie. So I am getting crazy amounts of Houston right now. James Harden, 40% on FanDuel at 12,600. He's at 38%, so I'm right with the field. He's 11.5 on DraftKings. I've got 43%, quite a bit above that 28% number that we're projecting. I just can't imagine not wanting to have Harden here. All of the signs of this game point in the right direction, so loading up on James Harden, but I'm not stopping there. 8,200 on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. Chris Paul continues to be one of my favorite plays, if not my favorite play, at least on DraftKings. So I'm loading up on Chris Paul. I'm loading up on Clint Capella, 40% on FanDuel, $8,100 price tag looks nice. 7,400 on DraftKings. He's at 31% ownership, which I think is a little high. So I'm actually coming in under Clint Capella. I don't necessarily mind the $7,400 tag, but it's just those center only guys really have a hard time for me to get a lot of exposure. And then I don't want to say it out loud because he's Eric Gordon, but Eric Gordon, I don't know, revenge narrative maybe? 4,700 on FanDuel, 51 on DK. I'm getting him in both spots, even though that price tag sucks on DraftKings. I will probably walk that back a bit because I think I have him projected slightly too high. 0.8 feels a little bit excessive, especially for the amount that I'm getting. But the game is just such a functionally good spot that I can't get past it. So Harden, Paul, Capella, Gordon, I'm going to have a decent chunk of ownership to these guys. I'll probably have close to 2 Houston guys in almost every lineup. I just want to be here for all these dudes. So that's where I stand right now on this game. The Rockets side looking just absolutely fantastic. Keep a close eye on Eric Gordon. This pace up spot is something like just getting extra possessions and extra possessions against a terrible defense. It's really hard to ignore. Emax says, can you explain how you calculate the increase in possessions in a pace up spot, pace down spot? Yeah, so, I mean, each team has a particular pace rating. I have my own little pace rating cooked up from, recent history. Use whatever you need. So I use each team's pace rating and the league average pace to predict pace for a particular game. So in this case, I have the Houston game projected with a 102.4 possession pace. So the number that's next to the team here is just simply the 102.4 minus whatever that team's normal pace is, which in Cleveland's case, or in Houston's case, is 97.7. So it's 102.4, which is what I expect for the game, minus Houston's 97.7. And that's how I get that they're up 4.7 possessions for this game. There we go. That's Pels and Rockets. Get yourself some Houston, people. Then we go to Boston and San Antonio. This one is probably not worth my time. Boston Celtics have Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Gordon Hayward, and Aaron Baines is questionable. So, everything changes. There are too many permutations to get too specific. If everybody plays, Al Horford on DraftKings at 5,800 is a fantastic play. It's the best play of anything on Boston. Otherwise, I'll just have a couple of them and nothing crazy. The more guys that are out, the more I like everybody else that's left on the Celtics. I don't really have any way to break this down. There's going to be like 4 to 5 Celtics that are in play if guys start dropping off, but it's hard to speculate because we're running the gamut of like positions as well. So if Horford plays, he's the clear-cut dude that I'm trying to roster from the Celtics. I wish that I could say more, but it's just sort of a waste of time. They have like 150 minutes in flux on Q tags. Keep an eye on the news. We'll know it beforehand. We'll have starters and news. They play at 7:30, so just keep a close eye on it. Keep your eye on Horford. Tatum looks good on DK as well. But, if these guys start being out, like 5,100 Marcus Morris is going to be hard to avoid. $4,700 on FanDuel. Jaylen Brown will be hard to ignore. The guys that soak up the extra minutes, that's the direction you want to go. Now, on the San Antonio side, by all accounts, everybody is healthy. They have the full run of everyone. And if that's the case, well, there's not a ton that's like super fun. Aldridge is 8,700 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DK. I'm just like in the 20%-ish range, as is the public. I have very little interest in DeMar DeRozan at 9,200 on FanDuel. That price is ludicrous. You can play him on DK, and I think it's okay. It's just really hard to prioritize anything coming from San Antonio. Like Derek White for 5,900 on FanDuel and 5,200 on DraftKings. Like that's probably the best play here, but it's still just a spur. Punting with Bertans for 3,600 on FanDuel is feasible now without any real value out there. But you don't go to a San Antonio team, especially playing Boston, and think like this is going to be a fantasy point bonanza. Derek White on Yahoo is a really solid play at $17. That would be my best play there. But really, like you're just trying to sprinkle in one spur into most things on a 4-gamer. Hard for me to really be excited. Talking about this crap game is giving me a headache. Yeah, me too. Let's get out of it. Let's go to Golden State. Warriors hosting the Pistons. 114.25 implied total for the Warriors. 102.25 for the Pistons. It's a 12-point line. Warriors just got absolutely embarrassed last night. No Steph, but I mean, you should not be dropping games to Dallas by 35. So that's just gross. Let's talk about this Golden State team. So we have Steph is in. DeMarcus Cousins is doubtful. Andre Iguodala doubtful. Sean Livingston probable. Andrew Bogut probable. So I am not super fond of the Warriors, and that scares me. But I know people are going to freak out here. He's not a guy that I'm on when Cousins is playing any longer. But when Cousins is out, Draymond Green is a completely different basketball player. And he's a guy that I want to go to pretty heavily. 6% ownership only on FanDuel, 16 on DK. I'll be many multiples over that. Draymond is just different without Cousins on the floor. He gets a bump to his rebounding rate. Assist rate goes up quite a bit. He's just a much different basketball player when DeMarcus Cousins isn't sharing the floor with him. I don't really see myself going to much Curry or Durant or Clay. It just doesn't feel like the best spot. I'm more likely to get them on DK than I am on FanDuel as of right now, but it's paced down. Pistons defense is good. I'm sure they want to win because of yesterday's ugliness, but I'm not going to be prioritizing Curry or Durant in this one. So that's where I stand for the Warriors side. I still can't believe they got whooped up on like that. Let's go to the Pistons. Again, not a lot here. Andre Drummond is 11-1 on FanDuel. I'm not super interested. He's 8,700 on DraftKings. I'm a little bit more interested. 18% expected ownership right now. I've got 32. I mean, it's not a great spot for Andre Drummond, but whoa, boy. He's 8,700. How do you turn your back on that on a 4-game slate? Like, he's got legitimate 60-point upside or more. If he does that, like, you have to have it on a 4-gamer. So get me a little bit of Drummond. I'm not on the Blake train. 8,500 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings. Just not there. I like the idea a little bit of. I think I flip-flopped Ish Smith and Reggie Jackson's minutes, and I'm getting way too much Ish Smith. Yeah, you need to be 22. You need to be 26. Ignore my Ish exposure, that's not going to maintain itself. I flip-flop their minutes. But Luke Kennard is a guy that I think that we need to talk about at least a little bit. He's like a good value. I don't know. Does that make sense? Because I hate it. Because, well, I've seen Luke Kennard, especially as a Duke fan. The problem is there are days where he's going to play 30 minutes, and on a 4-game slate, like that is a really, really difficult thing to avoid. Let me reselect my lineups here. I can not have so much Ish Smith. Yeah, there we go. So I have like roughly 30% Kennard, and I made sure to like go back through, look at his rates with this team. I only have him at 27 minutes. There's more ability to go north of that, but 4K on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. Until we start to get news, Luke Kennard is a guy that I'll have my eye on. As we get value opening up in like the sub-6 category, this exposure to Luke Kennard will go away. If it doesn't, then I will have some Kennard. I just don't know how to get away from it. There are way more minutes to go around to him on the high end, and he's like a 0.75 guy, so I at least have to entertain the idea. Makes me not happy, but here we are. So it's just Kennard and Drummond coming out of Detroit. I bet you hate yourself for that, don't you, Josh? Yeah, like I never want to go into anything with 30% Luke Kennard, but again, it's a 4-game slate, so like you're gonna have things that stand out like that, particularly early in the morning before real value comes out. You know, when we get like 3 guys out for Boston out of those 4, then I probably end up with a lot less Luke Kennard because I probably have 60% Jaylen Brown. You know. Okay, this one's for me. X Cossack. Where are all the donkeys that played Jimmer? You're listening to one. I played a little bit on DraftKings. And like, if you look at the box score, you'd be surprised that he didn't play more. I didn't expect him to play Elliot Kobo for 20 minutes now. And Jamal Crawford got the DMP CD. So like, the minutes were there. I expected him to get run. It's the Suns. And it would have been, like, more than anything, it just would have been really fun to talk about if he played well. It was basically why I did it. Yeah, I'm that donkey. Look, he was... I mean, if you thought that he was going to play 20 minutes, like, he was a functional punt last night. If you thought that Elliot Kobo was going to get those 20 minutes, kudos. I certainly didn't. I didn't project Elliot Kobo in the game. But, you know, Elliot Kobo played 20 minutes. Jamal Crawford didn't play any. If you told me, like, to expect that Elliot Kobo was going to play last night, there's the donkey I was looking for. Yeah, I knew it was me. Look, no one could have expected Elliot Kobo to play unless you had information on it. If you tell me that Jamal Crawford is definitely not playing last night, and you know Tyler Johnson's out and Oubre's out and Josh Jackson's out, I don't know how you don't project Jimmer for 20 minutes. They just didn't have any other bodies. And at that point, he becomes a functional punt play on DraftKings. If I knew Elliot Kobo plays 20 minutes, I have 0 shares of Jimmer. I'd probably have some shares of Elliot Kobo. If I'm being honest. But I just wanted Jimmer to work out. All right, let's close this out. Final game. The Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Sacramento Kings. All right, what do we got for the Lakers now? Because I think we're okay. Josh Hart is out. LeBron is probable. Mike Muscala questionable. Massive pace up spot for the Lakers. 112.5 implied total for the Lakers. 116 for the Kings. Is that real? Did I type that incorrectly? Are the Kings really favored in LA against LeBron? LeBron at home? Line is 1. Wait. Fucker. Let's change that line up a little bit. There we go. All right, 115.75 and 116.75. Either way, monster pace up spot for monster pace game here. Monster totals. Going to be hard to not want pieces of this game, and you can tell by my exposures that I clearly have a lot of it. So, LeBron James is 10-7 on FanDuel. He is 10-1 on DK. I will have LeBron on FanDuel. You know, small forward, you just kind of get there. So I will be there. On DraftKings, not really a spot that I need to be. I'm continuing to get to someone like Kyle Kuzma on FanDuel at 6K. He's 6,500 on DraftKings. I have like twice the field of Kyle Kuzma. He's 6,000 on FanDuel. He's $500 more expensive on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. So if you're playing on FanDuel, I can't see how you don't have a ton of Kuzma. Be careful on JaVale. I'm continuing to project him for 24 minutes. I get right around the field at 40%. If he plays 18 minutes, I'm not shocked. If he plays 34, I'm not shocked. You kind of just have to figure out how much JaVale you're comfortable playing with and then set his projection to get that number. Because right now there's so much ambiguity. I want to be there. I'm going to be there with Rondo as well. I'm a little nervous about those minutes. I took 2 off and gave him the Caruso, but I'm still getting quite a bit of Rondo. Revenge narrative, I guess, on Rondo. 6,500 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DK. If he plays 30 minutes, you can't ignore him. KCP is in play. Alex Caruso is mildly in play and disgusting, but he's getting the minutes, especially with Josh Hart out. So, I mean, you kind of need to have like a lot of LA, and I will. I'll have more exposure to LA than maybe any other team on the early slate outside of the Rockets. If I'm ranking these guys on FanDuel, it's Kuzma, JaVale, KCP, Rondo, LeBron, Caruso. On DK, it's JaVale, KCP, Caruso, Rondo, Kuzma, LeBron. Craziness. Absolute craziness. JaVale on Yahoo, $19. Like, that's the guy that you're trying to get more than anything. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if JaVale disappointed today, but you can't think of it like, oh, so-and-so's chalk. There's 4 games. There's only so many guys that can get ownership. Like, JaVale's going to have ownership by default. If you knew JaVale McGee was playing 30 minutes today, you'd be in 100% of your lineups. It's really hard to project him any other way. Like I said, I've got him in for 24 at 1.3 FanDuel points per minute in a monster pace up spot with a big total. I don't see how you don't go there. Now on the Sacramento side, also a great pace, but it's going to sound really familiar. I don't have a ton of De'Aaron Fox. He's a little chalky on DraftKings. I'm not there. I have a ton of Buddy Hield, 7,900 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings. That's the direction I'm going. I'll have some Harrison Barnes on FanDuel just because small forward is that sort of thing. And then I want to have a lot of Bielitsa, 5,200 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. I mean, you're playing Bielitsa on FanDuel because he's like the best option? I don't know. Again, once you're not in that LeBron and Durant tier, it's a sea of like 5 and 6K guys. So give me the guy that can, put up some real numbers. He's been at a fantasy point per minute over his last 30. I just want to get to some Bielitsa. He's chalky, but I get it. That's small forward for you. I don't have a ton of interest in Bagley. 7,500 on FanDuel, 6,900 on DraftKings. I might have to bump his rates up a little bit. I can get there. We're getting close to the end of Willie Cauley-Stein. Probably not coming back next year, so I like a lot more from the Lakers, unfortunately, than I do from the Sacramento Kings. But if you're going to the Kings, Buddy Hield, I think, is the top option. Bielitsa on FanDuel is the star of the show. That's where we're at. So I got the question. I know I wanted to wait till I got through everything. El Negro Loco. Would I rather have Draymond or Bagley on FanDuel? So I have 25% Draymond right now. I have 7% Bagley. So right away, I'm saying quite a bit more of Draymond than Bagley. I think that Draymond beats Bagley 56% of the time relative to their salaries. So I would just lean to Draymond there, especially if he's only 6% owned. That's where I'm at. So give me Draymond in that scenario. It's just he's a different guy without Cousins. I would probably have almost no Draymond if Cousins were playing today. Yeah, Cousins is doubtful today. I mean, if you're curious about it, like, go look up the rates with Draymond and Cousins off the floor. It's completely different. Andrew Kowski. Curious question, Josh. Do you play single entry? If so, how's your approach different than entering 100 lines? I just pick one of the lineups. I just pick an extra lineup. I don't like pay much attention to it. Yeah, I don't play that much Draymond. I just play him when Cousins is out. It's a different story. Like, I wouldn't have him otherwise. He averages like 15% more fantasy points per minute when Draymond Green or when DeMarcus Cousins is not on the floor. It's going to be a crazy slate. Draymond is garbage, bro. Shake my... Yeah, that's it. Draymond's garbage. You figured it out, Elvin. No Jamal Murray talk. I mean, he's one of the 3 guys I would play on DK. Was it at Minnesota that... Yeah, it was. Cousins was out on the 19th. Draymond went for 39. He's 6K now, 300 cheaper. It's a 4-game slate. Got to remember, that's a perfectly acceptable score. You don't have to plan to score 400 fantasy points. Not everybody's a bust if they only go for 39. No reason to suspect that he can't do that again today. I think that's where we're at. I think we're done here. 59 minutes. Yeah. Nice little arrow. Hour. I need to get out of here. Alrighty, everybody. I will be around for most of the day. I'm in charge of projections today, so updates will be coming through me. Not playing the early slate on FanDuel. They don't have enough tournaments for me, so my main focus will be on the main slate, at which point 6 p.m. tonight I will be back live before lock, and we'll go over everything as we head into the main slate, playing both FanDuel and DraftKings tonight. Keep a close eye on the news. That should open up the night slate perfectly. I need to get some food. 10:30 a.m. I'm a little hungry. Best of luck, everybody. NBA Strategies, the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Shout out to Thrive Fantasy. That's all I got. Adios, everybody. Good luck today.